Welcome to History Teaching Tools and Tips, a series that introduces strategies that encourage effective practice and meaningful learning in history and social studies instruction. My name is Guidry, and I'm an Associate Professor and Program Coordinator of History Education at East Carolina University.
In this session, I will introduce SKIDS, a general, non-content specific text analysis strategy I developed aimed at helping any reader understand a difficult document or text. We will provide the educational context paving the way for a strategy like this, discuss where SKIDS fits into content area reading models of instruction, and unpack the strategy. In recent years, literacy in the content area has been a focus of many district or school administrators, teachers, or teacher educators. Many of the learning problems that are illuminated by the proliferation of testing take their root in a child's inability to read. This, of course, is not a new phenomenon. Years ago, during the content-heavy, testing-heavy days of the ABCs of accountability in North Carolina, I asked a group of 30 teachers in a struggling North Carolina district what their number one obstacle was to improving their students' U.S. history test scores. Their response was a resounding and unflinching reading. The struggle continues today, but why have we struggled so to teach students in social studies how to read? We know it is an integral part of what we do in history and social studies. In fact, each year as I work with my introductory social studies method students, I challenge them to find a history professor on campus that will say, "A historian's job is to deliver lectures," rather than, "A historian's job is to read, analyze, interpret, and write." The problem seems to be twofold. First, many social studies teachers have never received adequate training in content area reading. I hear teachers often say, "I don't know how to teach them to read." This is because often secondary teacher education students take only one content area reading course. That is why at ECU we pair our introductory social studies methods course with the content area reading course and teach them together with both the social studies education faculty and a content area reading faculty member co-teaching using a disciplinary literacy approach. The other contributing factor, I believe, that causes secondary students to struggle with reading in high school is that if they are a struggling reader in high school, they have developed a negative attitude about their reading ability and, moreover, about reading in general. As a side note, I agree with Kelly Gallagher's position that the fragmented nature of reading comprehension instruction through choppy paragraphs, etc., are a primary cause of this lack of skill in reading. However, for this session, I want to focus on their attitudes about their abilities and their attitudes about reading. In their work Teaching Reading in the Content Areas, Doty, Cameron, and Barton talk about three interrelated pieces that surround content area reading. First, we have the reader and his or her abilities. Next, we have the features of the text, and last, we have the climate with which the reader approaches the text. If a reader does not understand the features of a text, then he or she may have difficulty in reading the text, and thus develop a negative climate towards similar texts, which make it difficult to comprehend similar future texts. This may happen, say, with an otherwise proficient reader when he or she reads, say, Shakespeare for the first time. However, if that reader is of high ability and is taught to decipher the text features, then he or she may come to love Shakespeare. In their work, Doty, Cameron, and Barton make a strong case for focusing on teaching students textual features as an entry point to developing efficacy. This is a strong argument for textual features as an entry point, but with all of the literacy instruction going on in all the classrooms as a byproduct of the Common Core State Standards movement, I propose that the content area teacher confronted with low-performing readers should focus on building a positive climate. By the time a student reaches high school, he or she has likely already learned the mechanics of reading. They have most likely already learned to form words and can sound out syllables if nothing else. What they likely need help with, however, is deriving meaning from the text. It is in this environment where struggling readers are learning to learn, as opposed to learning to read, that I created a strategy called SKIDS. I was asked one day a couple of years ago to help a class of 10th grade civics students read and interpret the amendments to the Constitution. Not the simplest task. These students fit into this sort of sweet spot of struggling readers, many of whom were ELL students who understood the mechanics of reading but struggled with basic comprehension. I began my lesson by asking them if they had been given the task to drag a refrigerator over grass, would it be easy? They, of course, replied, no. I then asked them if it would be easier if I had something smooth-bottomed to place the refrigerator on, a set of skids, say, if it would be easier to actually pull the heavy appliance along. They replied exuberantly, yes. I then told them that we were going to do just that to the 12th Amendment. We were going to place the document on some skids to make it easier to understand. SKIDS is a general, non-content specific text analysis strategy I developed aimed at helping any reader understand a difficult document or text. What is different about SKIDS is that rather than focusing primarily on text features and vocabulary that students don't know, SKIDS focuses on what students do know in the text, highlighting the vocabulary they do understand first and only then working to develop words they do not understand. The whole aim of this approach is to get students to realize that even with an unfamiliar text like the 12th Amendment, they already have the tools to read and understand. This improves their climate and attitude about reading by helping them realize that they know more than they think they know. They are, as a result, more likely to attack the next passage or text, as I found with my 10th graders. So how does SKIDS work? How do we smooth the pathway to understanding? First, we ask the student to skim the text. This is done so the student gains a very general understanding of the content of the text, a frame of reference, if you will. The teacher follows up with a simple, so what is this text about? Basic topic identification. In our 12th Amendment example, the students responded, it's about the president and vice president. Bingo. First hurdle overcome. Next, we ask the students to read the text more carefully now, but we want them to underline or highlight all the words that they know. This is a departure from the typical approach that teachers take, where students are asked to highlight the words that they don't know. Think about how depressing it is for a child to read the 12th Amendment and get to just the second word, elector, and not know what is meant, or get to the 7th word, respective, and not understand it in the presented context. They are immediately turned off by the reading, feel inadequate, and often give up. By focusing on the words they do know, yes, every a, and the, they begin to realize that they know a lot of what is in the 12th Amendment. When they see how much is highlighted and underlined and are encouraged to read on. This also allows you as the teacher to circulate and readily see what words are and are not highlighted, and you can then provide targeted, informed vocabulary support. With their now thoroughly marked text, students are then asked to interpret the text for its meaning, an initial summary of sorts. In the case of the 12th Amendment, it is obvious to my 10th grade students that this amendment was about how we choose the president and vice president, and about how the president and vice president are decided if there's no clear winner in the Electoral College. We could stop right there, actually, but reading is also about resilience, so we can now turn to helping them grow as readers, particularly regarding vocabulary. After this initial reading and interpretation, students are then asked to dig deeper into those words they didn't highlight, those words they didn't know. To help empower them as readers, an important question to ask is, where can you find the meaning of the words you don't know? This is a powerful question because we teach them how to access knowledge and resources as they brainstorm glossary, Google, teacher, dictionary, context clues. If there are words that the whole class struggled with based on your monitoring during the initial highlighting stage, you can use vocabulary strategies like Freyer models, semantic mapping, or even vocabulary cartoons to help them learn the words. After they have worked on their don't know words, they can reevaluate their initial interpretation and make adjustments if needed as they craft a formally stated summary. This summary should utilize proper syntax. Content teachers working with struggling readers are rarely charged with helping students learn to read, but are usually asked to help students read to learn. By using SKIDS, teachers can help students learn to persevere in their reading and approach content reading with confidence and positivity. With the addition of continued instruction of the features of disciplinary text, content area teachers can access 2 of the 3 vital elements of reading and enhance the 3rd element, the ability of the reader. What a powerful lifelong gift to give someone. Thank you for viewing this presentation of History Teaching Tools and Tips. See you next time.